Welcome back, guys. This is Mike Brookman with Radan, and today we're going to take a look at punching. So let's dive right in. Okay, I've got a part here, and as you can see, it's got some louvers on it. And I don't have a louver tool that fits that slot. As you can see, when I tool this, it gives me a bunch of noises and says, hey, here's the tool I found. Clearly, that's not what I want to do. So let's get rid of all that tooling. And I'm going to try to walk you guys through the steps of making a special tool. Now, the steps that I'm going to do, they'll make sense, but when you do this in real life on your own, you probably will reverse these steps, or at least one of the steps that we're going to talk about. And you'll see why I'm showing that today, just for conversation's sake. So let's jump right in. First thing we need to do is go up here to configure and come into our tool library editor. And I need to make a tool entry for this new louver tool that I have. I have some louver tools already, so let's pop open this guy. As you can see, though, that image doesn't match what I have. And clearly, when I went to go tool it, it didn't process it. But I'm going to just extend this off of my parts. I'm just going to go, maybe we'll just jump right to 60. It is a special tool. It is for forming. I'm going to say that it's going to be 275 by 375. So we need to put in the approximate size of what this tool is. On your machine, this would be probably way more important. As you can see on my fake machine, I only have just a single station that covers basically the full range of very small to very big. You're going to have select ones. So if you don't want to include what station it specifically goes into, you kind of want to have it a size that it can use. And we're going to then just say okay to this. It's going to ask me if I want to create a tool symbol, and we'll say yes, and I get this plus sign. And that's where this process for you might change in the future, because I'm going to go ahead and say okay here. And the plus sign still, when I go to process this, even though I know that this shape matches when I tool this, it still isn't going to work. Or if it does, it's going to display it as pluses. Well, good, it didn't work. So we'll say that's not correct. We'll get rid of our tooling again. Now, the next thing I need to do is we need to talk a little bit about how we get the geometry of the shape that we want to populate into that thumbnail of our special tool. Now, hopefully, if you bought a tool, you might have gotten a DXF file or maybe a print of the shape that the tool is. In my case, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to say that the tool shape matches my part that I drew. And in a lot of ways, you're probably going to do that anyway, because then it's a nice fit for the software to made up to, versus having to create possibly an all-tool template or something like that for it to be used. This will work pretty much every time. One thing to note, though, no matter what type of tool that you have, however you create that geometry, where the center point of that tool is very important. And again, I'm going to just pretend that that's in the center of my tool. It may or may not be, but how it's used in the real life is very important that we get that right. So how do we get this? Because if we zoom in on one of these, I can't get the center point of this particular tool. So first I need to find that. So we're going to come down here to bisect, or find a bisect point. We're going to click on that. I'm going to pick the center of my top line and the center of my bottom line, and that jumps me right to the center of my part here. Then we're going to go to jump to cursor. Oh, I might have to do that step again. First, we'll do this first. We're going to want to jump to cursor, so that's under cursor objects. Jump to cursor. We're going to pick to bisect half of that line, half of this line. Now that jumped me to here, and I'm going to then window all of this, and I pick this up, as you can see, right in the middle. From there, we're going to come up here to cursor, and we're going to copy this right to our cursor. The reason why we do that is because we need to transfer this basically from our geometry here into that thumbnail of our part. And so I'm going to just drop that off my cursor, and we're going to go into the tool library. We're going to go back down into the part that we made, this 87660. Double click on that. Oops, just a single click. And then we're going to click on this window. Now this, when we click on this, it's going to open us into a new session in part mode. I'm going to say yes, I want to save my part here. I haven't saved that yet, so I'm going to call this Louver job, and we'll save it away. So now I've got this symbol, right? I've opened it up here at the top. It says it's TN 87660, and I've got this blue X that's defining where my center point is. I don't need to have this plus sign anymore, so we're going to get rid of that geometry. Then I'm going to come up here to cursor. I'm going to go to paste cursor object, and I've got that louver back on my cursor, and I'm holding it in the center so I can plunk it right down on that blue save datum. And that's it. We'll save this now. It's going to say, do I want to save it back to my system symbols? That's where it pulled TN 87660 from. I'm going to say yes, save it, and replace it. Now I'm going to open my part, my louver job. I'm going to go back to tooling. I'm going to look at my tool library. 760, look at that. There's my image. Now that that's available, I'm going to just go ahead and tool, and it processes my part perfectly. Simple as that. Hopefully you can follow all those steps. So like I said in the reverse, probably what I would do is I would probably copy the geometry first. Now that you know the steps, copy the geometry, save that to your cursor, then create the tool entry for the new tool that you need. Click on that center thumbnail, and then presto, paste it, done. The Spin Mic with the Radan guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We'll see you next time.